It's Saturday, March 17th. Welcome to Pastor Bob Daily. David on Facebook says, I'd like to know your opinion on a Christian's place in watching certain movies and or television shows. Do you think God is against us watching movies where they curse and are violent? Is he against us watching films of fantasy? Certain pastors speak against films such as Harry Potter. What is your personal opinion on this matter? Bring on the controversy. Thanks a lot, David. And the controversy begins, huh? Well, I don't think I'm going to be all that controversial today. Let me just say, first of all, that I love movies. I really, really love movies. And I try to see one movie every week on free popcorn day at the theaters. But let me tell you, I am fairly selective. And I'm probably not as selective as some of you might be, but I'm fairly selective. But I love good art. I love good art in music, in the painted picture, in movies, in whatever form. And I like something that's well done. Now, just to watch a horror movie where I go to get scared, I don't do that. Just to watch something that has gratuitous sex or violence, I'm not into that either. But if there's a good plot and a good story and it's well done, especially fantasy, I love those. I love special effects. I really do. So what about those kind of movies and how do we justify that? Well, let me start by going back a few years. I realized a few years ago that the music industry and the film industry were merging in so many ways. On television, you kept hearing songs by different bands, and then in the credits at the end, they would tell you about where that song came from and how you can buy the album. In many movies, you recognize songs in the background, and you see more and more popular bands getting credit for theme songs and just songs to set the mood in the music. And I realized that the two are merging so much these days. And even in concerts these days, people are using special effects, movie effects, in their concerts. And so the two really are going together, and much more in the future, I predict. So to really learn more about it, I started going to the Nashville Film Festival here in Nashville. And after a while, started working with them quite a bit. I was on the pre-screening board at one time, watching a lot of movies that have been entered for the festival and helping to decide which movies would be appropriate and which ones weren't, and became very, very involved in the festival. I really enjoyed it for a while, and then it just got a little bit too much, and I started traveling during that time, especially, so I wasn't in town and I wasn't as involved, but I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot from all the workshops that we had, from many of the movies that we had. And I saw a lot of different kinds of movies, but I was excited to be part of the process of choosing good movies to be shown. I think we need to be involved in this industry. And sometimes our involvement is behind the scenes. There are some people that think, well, we just should be doing Christian movies and get those out there, and that's cool to have a Christian message. I think it's also very cool to be able to input our values simply by being involved in the process and involved in the industry. But even more than that, folks, we don't need to hide. And a lot of Christians feel like we can't do anything in the world because we're going to get contaminated. But let me just tell you something. Even though that might be a concern if you're weak in some of those areas, we really need to engage this world. To hide in our churches and hide in our homes and hide in our Christian businesses and not ever go outside of those perimeters is not what Christ left us here to do. He told us to go out into the world and preach the gospel in every way, to be involved in everything. And again, if we are so conscious of being corrupted and being offended by everything that goes on, instead of engaging the world and being part of the process of change, then I think we're doing it wrong. Well, I know I've gone way, way around answering this question, but I hope that you understand the foundation that I have around it. I just think sometimes we need to engage. Now, I've walked out of my share of movies, and I still will. if there are things that I feel like aren't good for me to see, and not because I'm offended, but because I realize that it appeals to my flesh or it makes me feel uncomfortable or whatever it is, I'll walk out, and I'm not beyond that. But I don't think we should be so afraid that we don't see anything. And again, you said, what about even fantasy? I love fantasy. You know, Lord of the Rings was fantasy. One of my favorite movies. So, you know, I think that's where we need to be. And I hope you're a moviegoer. There's so much to see and so many things to experience. Well, that's my opinion. God bless you. Have a great day.